Now, before I answer this, tell me, how do Christians usually respond when this topic is brought up in the Bible? Well, they say something like this. When the Bible talks about slavery, it's not talking about slavery the way we understand it today. The Bible regulates slavery because it's basically a bankruptcy system. So instead of writing off someone's debt, as we do today, which seems a bit unfair, they would work for their debt until it's all paid off. And to prove this, the Christian would read from Exodus chapter 21, verse 2, which says, "If you buy a Hebrew servant, he is to serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th year he shall go free without paying anything. At the end of every 7 years you must cancel debts. All this also happens on the year of Jubilee." Christians even point out that these people are not even called slaves. They are called servants or bondservants. In fact, not only are they released on the 7th year or the year of Jubilee and their debts are all cleared up, they're even given generous gifts so that they don't go empty-handed. They stay with their masters forever only if they want to, and they cannot be threatened or mistreated or oppressed. See, it's just a bankruptcy system to help them recover from their financial difficulty. That's it. It has nothing to do with slavery as we know it today. But of course, the polite skeptic atheist would say, "Not so fast, my dear beloved Christian. All that's true, but that doesn't solve the problem. These things only apply to Hebrew slaves." You see, Leviticus chapter 25 verses 44 to 46 is talking about foreign slaves who are not called servants or bondservants. They are always called slaves who don't get their debts paid or cleared up. They can be bought and sold like in African slave trade, who don't have rights nor get released, who are inherited as an object or a piece of furniture from generation to generation. And they can be beaten within an inch of their lives and face no consequences at all. That's the slave system I'm talking about that the Bible endorses. How do Christians respond? They say God is not endorsing slavery, he's just regulating it to keep it under control. Well, apart from the fact that he doesn't seem to be regulating it here, if it's immoral, why regulate it? Why not simply abolish it? Why not just say it's wrong, it's immoral, don't do it? Like everywhere else God says not to do something when it's wrong. You don't find God regulating lying and stealing and committing adultery. He simply says don't do it. Why doesn't God say don't do it to slavery? Why is he supposedly regulating it? What is the answer? Well, according to this associate professor from the Hebrew Bible Divinity School, this is the explanation for why God is making an exception for enslaving foreigners harshly. Just as the Israelite slave was treated ruthlessly in Egypt, so may the foreign slave be treated ruthlessly in Israel. So he's saying, yes, this is harsh slavery, and the Jews are doing this because the foreigners deserve it. So basically he agrees with the skeptic who accuses the Bible for being an immoral book that endorses the harshest kind of slavery for everyone who's not a Jew. In other words, the Bible is encouraging the Jews to enslave the whole world and commit this immoral act. Wow, this is obviously a problem. Apparently, even John Newton, the famous Christian who wrote the song Amazing Grace, was sucked into this. He used to be the captain of slave ships even after his conversion to Christianity because he was influenced by these kinds of arguments and interpretation of the Bible, and he was influenced by his society's attitude. Christians do that with the Bible, even today. It took John Newton some time to realize he was wrong. But when he did realize he was wrong, he spent the rest of his life campaigning against slavery. Even George Whitefield fell in the trap of thinking the Bible endorses slavery. So what changed? Eventually, it was a Christian, not an atheist, nor a skeptic, nor a professor, to put a stop to the African slave trade. His name was William Wilberforce. He was also supported by John Wesley. And by the way, if you're interested, slavery was abolished just months before John Newton died, which means God blessed him to live long enough to see the end of slavery. Now, if the Bible really did endorse any kind of slavery, especially foreign ones, then William Wilberforce and John Wesley and John Newton should have and would have been obliged to support it. They would have had no biblical reason to go against it. So why didn't they? In fact, William Wilberforce said, "Let the policy be what it might, let the consequences be what they would, I from this time determined that I would never rest till I had effected its abolition." Why would William Wilberforce want to abolish this immoral act when God himself allegedly commanded it? Why say God Almighty has set before me two great objects, the suppression of the slave trade and the reformation of manners? If the Bible really endorses slavery like the skeptic wants us to believe, or regulates slavery like some Christians say, why is William Wilberforce going against it? In fact, he believed that slavery was connected with the biblical doctrine of the fall and not connected with God's original plan of creation. And he believed that all Christians should go against it. He believed that all Christian nations who had any influence or any authority had a duty to abolish this cruel, man-made institution. Why did he call it man-made? Because the Bible doesn't endorse it. He said what a difference it would be if our system of morality were based on the Bible instead of the standards devised by cultural Christians. So he's basically saying if our morality were based on the Bible, there would be no African slave trade. But how can that be possibly true in light of what we just read in Leviticus chapter 25, verses 44 to 46? So here is the $1,000,000 question, or the £1,000,000 question, whichever currency works for you best. How come when William Wilberforce read the Bible, he came up with a complete opposite understanding of what skeptics and cultural Christians believe the Bible is saying about slavery today? That's what we're going to look at next. I hope you're enjoying this topic on slavery, covering both Old and New Testament. This study comes in 9 parts, which we are releasing weekly. If you don't want to wait that long or want everything in one video, then please go to our product page and download it from there. The link is in the description. This download comes with everything, a full PowerPoint presentation with all the references, and each slide has the full script. You can use it to expand your own study, or you can change, add, or remove any parts you want to help you deliver the message to your own study group. Although downloading this product is not free, by paying for it, you'll be supporting our ministry to produce more videos like this to help you and encourage you to fulfill the Great Commission.